Hey guys, it's time for an October wrap up. I'm pretty excited about this one because I read quite a few good books. So let's get started. Alright, so I read 9 books this month, which is about my average. 8 to 10 is about what I've been getting through each month this year. So I'm not going to do these in rating order because there were just a lot of really good reads this month. Instead, I'm going to do what I did last month and go through them in the order that I read them. We're going to start with Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I have had this on my shelf for quite a while. It's one of the classics that I know I need to get to. I know it's a very well-known classic. It's a very important classic. I finally got it crossed off my classics list and I really loved it. I think I gave it 4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed the premise of it. I think I wanted a little bit more. I just wanted more. It's a pretty short book and I just wanted to know more of the world we're living in now, more of how society has devolved. I just wish I could have read more of this story. I loved the evolution of the main character and how just kind of slowly discover more and more about him. I also love the few surprises that are scattered throughout this book. This was a really good first read. It was nice and quick, so a good way to start the month, and it was enjoyable. I went from this book to Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This I loved. The magic in this is great. How whimsical this book is just blew me away. I knew I was going to like it. You know, I expected to enjoy reading this, and I did. I went into this not knowing much. I haven't read this book before, and I've never seen the movie. I held off watching the movie until I've read the book, even though I hear they're not quite as similar. Just the relationship between Sophie and Hal and how their friendship grows melted my heart. Learning about Calcifer, he is a fire demon, and I kept at the beginning expected him to turn evil at some point or betray them at some points. And so just watching his character, just learning more about his character throughout the book was also really fun. He ended up being one of my favorite characters. And I think honestly every character in this is just so lovable. I think what really did it was the evolution of Sophie and Howl. I know there are a few other books in this series. I don't plan on reading them. I think I would probably enjoy them, but I don't think they follow Howl and Sophie. I think Howl and Sophie appear or like come up in the next few, but aren't a central focus. And they're what I really want to read about, to be honest. If I'm wrong, please let me know. Great book. I gave this one 5 stars. After that, I read Birdsong. I think that's by Stephen Fox. I'm going to put the picture up because it was a library book. I didn't like the beginning or the end, but the middle was so well done that I was willing to overlook those 2 pieces. So you're following 2 timelines, a grandfather and then a granddaughter. The grandfather lived through a war, and it's kind of his war story told in a journal that the granddaughter has found. The granddaughter's point of view I could have completely done without. It doesn't appear very much, and every time it does, it seems unnecessary, especially the ending. I don't know what the ending of this book was. And the beginning starts off with the grandfather and reads almost like a romance, and you go into this expecting a war story, and the first like chunk is a romance novel. And both of those pieces, the granddaughter and the romance, have somewhat of an impact in the story. They just don't quite bring enough for me to enjoy the way they were written. All that being said, the war part of this book, which is probably 3/4 of this book, was one of the best written war stories I've ever read. It was so gritty and dark and gory and just true to what a war is going to feel like. Felt very much like some of the other classics I've read, All Quiet on the Western Front. It was amazing to read. If it had just been that middle chunk, I would have given it a 5 stars and would probably be recommending this book to anybody and everybody. But I can see how people would struggle to get through the first bit and be disappointed in the last bit. However, if you like historical fictions or war stories, I really would recommend this book. I think it is definitely 100% worth it. Next up was a NetGalley book called In the Deep by Loreth Ann White. If you enjoy like psychological, thrillery, murder mystery type books, please pick this up. It came out in October, towards the end of October. In this book, you're following the murder trial of a man named Martin. His wife, Ellie, is the main suspect. And you follow her meeting Martin. You follow their very quick relationship. They got married very quickly after meeting, and Ellie is actually an heiress, been through a lot. She lost a daughter and she feels responsible for that. She's had problem with drug addiction and alcohol addiction. She's had a few mental breakdowns due to the grief of losing her daughter, and so she's in a very vulnerable spot. And so you don't trust her narrative as much because she has a lot of blackouts. She's still using drugs, and so you aren't sure if she's totally believable. But you also have Martin, who feels suspicious, can get a little bit abusive, is kind of gaslighting her, and so you're not sure exactly what happened. The twist at the end of this book was mind-blowing. Like, I 100% didn't see it coming, but it made absolute sense, and it was one of the best twist endings I've ever read. I don't read a lot of these books, but this one blew me away. If you like stories like Gone Girl or Girl on the Train, those kind of feels, this one is going to be one you enjoy and still has a very fresh look to it. I definitely think you should go and support this author. I'm going to be going and buying a copy because I feel like it's definitely one I want to have on my shelf. I moved from In the Deep to Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. Okay, so this is a sad book. It's about a boy raising hunting dogs. Little Ann and Old Dan are the hunting dogs. He's saved up like 2 years worth of money to buy these hunting dogs, and he trains them. He spends a whole summer getting them ready. You get to watch him hunt and watch his dogs just keep getting better and better. He eventually enters a hunting competition. Spoiler alert, and I'm sure everybody knows this because I mean, this book has been around for ages, and there's a movie, but it's a sad ending. The dogs end up dying because they save him from a mountain lion attack. It did definitely get to me. It's definitely dated a little bit, which you would expect from the book, but yeah, it was a good read, but a sad one. Finally managed to finish The Two Towers. This one took me forever to get through, not because I didn't enjoy it. I love the second book. Y'all know the writing style is not the easiest to read. By the time I get home from work, my brain has shut itself off, and so I was struggling just to get through it. I'd read like 10 pages and just find myself exhausted. So thoroughly enjoyed the story. I don't think I need to tell you what this one's about. I loved the ending. I think that's one of my favorite parts of this, along with getting to see the hobbits meet the trees. It's just always one of my favorite parts. I don't know when I'm going to pick up the third one. I may wait until this summer when, again, my brain is not melting from work. I am proud to say I finished another series. So I read Monsters of Men by Patrick Ness. This is the third book in the Chaos Walking trilogy. The first book, you meet Todd, who is a boy living in a world where you can hear everybody's thoughts. Nobody has secrets. He eventually meets Viola, whose spaceship crashed and her parents passed away, and he cannot hear her thoughts. And so throughout the first book, he's kind of helping her survive. They're getting to know each other. She's getting to know this new planet. Things are progressing in this society. And by the time you get to the third book, there are like 4 major groups of people. There are the people coming down from space that Viola was the scout ship for. There is the town mayor who has kind of been really abusing his power. There's a group of healers and women who were kind of enslaved by the mayor and have revolted. And then there's a group called the Spackle, who is the indigenous people who were also kind of enslaved and killed off by the mayor. And this book is basically just all four groups battling it out to survive and control the planet. So this book is like 400 pages of battle, and it was very intense. Todd and Viola are in the middle of it the whole time, and you're like, every time they try to get things straightened out, somebody does something stupid, and any steps they've made towards peace have just dissolved. So it was very intense. I really enjoyed this last book. And I'm glad I finished the series. I had two more books that I finished. The first one was Who Was Rosa Parks? This is just one of those little biographies that I have for my kids, so it was a nice, quick, easy read. Has a lot of good information for students, so if you have kids or if you know somebody who has kids, this is a really good set of biographies. It has good information that's definitely accessible. It's interesting. I learn something new myself every time I read these. And I finished with a reread of one of my favorite historical fictions, if not my favorite, Code Name Verity by Elizabeth Wynn. So this book, y'all, if you have not read this book and you like historical fiction, this is it. This is peak historical fiction. It blows me away every single time. I just adore the main character. So in this book, you're following Eva, who is a British code operator, and she has just been caught by a Nazi officer, and she's writing down kind of her confession. She's been tortured, she's forced to give away information, and you're reading the information that she's giving. And she's doing it and kind of prolonging her life by giving her information in the form of a story about her best friend, Maddie, who flies planes for the British Army and is actually the person who dropped her off. She parachuted out. She was supposed to just get dropped off, but she had to parachute out because there was a crash. So you don't really know what happened to Maddie. You don't know if Eva is going to survive. You are wondering exactly, like, she's talking about the guilt of giving away this information, and you also just get to see the friendship between Maddie and Eva really grow, and it is such a good and true friendship that I wanted it to be a relationship, honestly. Someone in Eva's circuit, who she was supposed to be kind of relaying things through, manages to get their hands on Eva's notes and find out what has happened to Eva, if she's surviving. And as they're going through Eva's notes, they make a lot of discoveries about how smart she was, how much she actually gave away, and how much she was actually able to withhold. And the journey of both Eva and Maddie truly is incredible. The ending of this book is my favorite part, and it really like pulls at your heartstring, the decisions that both characters have to make, the things they do to survive and the things they do for each other. This is my favorite friendship of all time in any book ever. So if you enjoy a good friendship, this is it. There's also a sequel to this, but again, it doesn't involve the same characters. I think it's just kind of a follow-up to another British pilot. I don't think I'll be reading that either because, again, I just want to follow these two characters forever. Please let me know if you read this, because this is a book I would love to discuss with people. I would love to reread with people. I just read it, so if you want someone to kind of go through and talk through it with you, I will happily be that person because I adore this book. All right, that's it. I don't think I gave you a rating for a lot of these, but they were all 4 and 5 stars. I don't think I gave anything less than a 4-star. I'm really excited to be moving into November because I do have the 2 readathons. I've already started working on the first week of the Clear Your Stuff readathon, so I'm excited to work my way through that. And pretty soon I'll be starting the Love in the Nights readathon, which I'll be vlogging, I think. I'm gonna try vlogging again. I've only done one vlog and I'm not sure how I feel about it, but let me know what your favorite book was last month, and please go read this book. Please go read In the Deep. And if you haven't read Howl's Moving Castle, I would add that to your list as well. But this is the one I'm requesting that all of you read and come back and comments and let me know what you think. Okay? All right? Please? For me? All right. Bye, guys.